Hello and welcome back to AC's Make and Repair. Well, I haven't done a video for about a week now. Been quite busy with work, etc. So I haven't had a chance to really get down and do one. But today I'm going to show you how to make one of these little scoops. Now this is a two-piece scoop. It's not a single piece, it's a two-piece. It's relatively easy to make. I use a technique that I don't think I've seen anybody else use online at all. In that I bore this hole here first, and I'll show you the bit that I used to bore it. It's a customised bit made out of an old bit, so I'll show you how I did that too. I've used this technique with a few other holes over the years. So come along with me today. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so the first thing I do is pick a piece of timber that I want to use for the scoop. I make it about 3/4 inch to inch, or 20 millimeters to 25 millimeters longer than I want my scoop, or deeper than I want my scoop. Also make it about 15 to 20 millimeters, or 5/8 to 3/4 inch larger in diameter than the finish size of my scoop. Then I take a Forstner bit and I drill it out to a fraction below my finish size. When I say a fraction, about 1/16 of an inch below my finish size. You'll see what I mean in a minute. I think this bit's about 28 millimeters or something like that. Well, actually might be a little bit bigger than that. And I finish diameter is about 32. It's only about 2 millimeters smaller in here than my finish size. Then I take this homemade bit that I've made. I'll show you how I make that now. So here we have an old 32 millimeter spade bit. The point's actually been broken off it many years ago, but I keep these because I've been able to over the years grind them to different profiles, like you'll see me doing. See, I'm going to grind it to that arc there, and this is going to make our bit. So I take my time. I used a bit of PVC pipe here to just mark it out. It was the width of the pipe, and I actually grind it down, keeping it cool as I go, and I'll show you how to do that. Like I said, I've used these in the past. I've made different shapes and sizes like this. If you support your job well, you usually don't have a situation with them. I could actually bore into the timber with this one without a pilot hole. They do drill quite good. So I cool it down and I keep it cool as I go. And you'll see I do grind relief as well on this. So I do a bit of a relief cut grind on the back of this, as you will see. Here I'm about to grind the relief. I just do a slight bevel on the back edge of half of each side. So this quarter of the diameter, so that half, I should say, of the bit, I do a relief. Now I don't do the finish on this, I do it on a lanisher. This is probably a little bit too steep. You don't need them very steep, but it wasn't a problem in here. So I just grind a bit of a bevel on the back of that. And I do the same to the other side. Now I flipped it over and I'm going to do the same to this side, all the way up. And what this does is it creates a good concave on the bottom of the scoop bowl. Here I'm doing the final bevel. I use this little block of wood that's got a bevel on it, a slight back angle, and I use that up against this lanishing disc here, just to grind that profile, or lanish that profile, the finish right up against the edge, so it creates a nice clean shoulder. Which that's all it needed. I'll flip it over and do the other side now. So there we have it. The bit, I've actually modified the shank. I've made it a little bit shorter, and I fit it in to the chuck of the drill. Now all this time I haven't moved the position of the block of wood below, so it's centralised still below the chuck. So as you can see, I drill into it just gently. I don't overdo it. I drill down and down and down just gently. It doesn't grab if you centralise it or keep it centralised. I suggest, if you've never done this sort of thing before, definitely use a vice or clamp it down adequately. Don't hold it in your hand. That's just a foolish thing to do, because if it does chatter, you tear out of your hand and grab your hand. You don't want that. As always, use due care. So I bore this down so the radius on the bottom of the bit creates a concave, i.e. the back of the scoop, or the bottom of the scoop in this case. So I drill that out until it's done. I check it as I go along. I then go on to slip the bored out hole over this mandrel. It's had a bit of a life. If you find, I made this a fairly snug fit, so you had to push it on fairly tight. What I found with the one I just did, the scoop that I just did compared to the one I did this morning, I had a little bit of chatter. It didn't actually mark the bowl too much. It was actually a loose fit, so I put some painter's tape or masking tape around that mandrel first, and it held tight. I also put the centre in like this to hold pressure up against the bottom of the bowl as I turn it down and rough it out. It actually holds quite good and turns quite well on this mandrel. So if you see how it's slipping just then, this is where I take it off and I fit the painter's tape around the mandrel, just for a bit more grip. It's hardly wouldn't even be half a millimetre out. It's just a little bit loose because it bored a little bit oversized, this one. The first one I did this morning was a real tight fit, and it made a massive difference. So I rough it down using the gouge until I get it to a diameter that I desire. Here I stop and mark the bottom of the hole and the bottom of the bowl, so I don't cut away the wall of the bowl. Here I notice a slight flaw in the turning, just a bit of chip out, so I have to reduce the height of the bowl. Doesn't matter, it actually worked out to be a good size in the long run in here. I had 2 catches with the chisel in this project. It's not the easiest timber to turn, this particular plum in here, and but it comes up okay, and I was quite happy with it. And the bowl size is good. It's probably not big enough for a coffee scoop as such, but you could definitely use it on some other ingredients or so forth. You can definitely make the size of bit that you use bigger to bore it out, no problem at all, and you can definitely make a coffee scoop out of something like this. Here I remove the tailstock and I cut the tip off there, and I just round it off nice and neat, and I give it a good sand too. A couple of V grooves just to make it look a bit decorative. I leave the area where I'm going to put the handle relatively flat, so when I junction the handle through it looks quite neat. The handle on this one I drilled at a slight angle, kicked it up a little bit compared to the one that I did this morning, which was more of a right angle. As you can see, I just bumped my camera. Now it's on to drilling the hole. I used a small Forstner bit, about 7/16 in diameter, or thereabouts, to drill a hole through the side of the bowl. Now you don't have to always drill through. This wall of this bowl is a little bit thin, so I wanted it to hold good. I saw somebody that did a 2-piece one, and he drilled through both sides and put the stick right through the middle. I don't suggest that. I suggest at the most just drill through one side, or drill part the way through one side. You want at least, I'd say, 1/8 of an inch grab with glue, and this was pushing it, so I decided to go through the full thickness and let the end of my handle stick into the bowl, or go flush with the edge of the bowl. Here I've set up a piece of timber between centres. Now I know it's off centre, it's not between the centres exactly right. That's because I'm dodging a split in this piece of timber. There's a little bit of a split in the piece of timber, but there's enough meat on the tailstock end to get the handle out, so I just decided not to sand the tailstock end, which is not a problem, and I rough it down with the gouge, and then I just cut it to the desired diameter and shape that I need it. I've put a couple of V grooves in it for decorative use. I stepped the end down with my sizing tool. Like I said, that sizing tool is very good for either getting it smack on if you're doing a lot of things with ferrules, and you want to do a dozen handles with ferrules, and you want them all the same size, you can set it to exact size. In this case I set it a fraction big because I wanted a nice press tight fit, and I just take the final trim with a skew when I finish sizing it with the sizing tool. You'll see it as I go along. Apply a small bead to the handle and a couple of bead grooves. I do take it out and check it for fit a couple of times, and I do a final trim so it's a nice tight press fit, as you can see I'm doing here now. Here I do a finish sand and give it a little bit of an oil. I don't oil the spot that I'm going to glue through the bowl part of the scoop. I leave that till later. I don't oil inside the hole of the bowl either, in the sense of where the handle goes. So just oil it now, and I'll go on to glue and fit that handle in a second, as you'll see, and then we've got a finished product. So here's the finished product. I'm just going to do a bit of a quick close-up for you, give you a bit better idea how they did come up. Okay, thanks for joining me today as I made this scoop. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was clear enough, and I believe it's a simple scoop that you can make. It takes away the need for hollowing this out in the lathe and to make a special jig to hold the cup. We did make the mandrel to go up the centre, and if you wanted to do production of these, that would make it a lot easier by taking away the need to hollow that out all the time. I also made this other one. This was the first one I did earlier on, and of course this is the second one. Look, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. I appreciate that. That helps the channel a lot, costs you guys nothing. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe by all means. And if you could share me with your friends, that'd be great too. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.